The one for plaun, for pauk, for pausa.
But I say, chun chien gone to chun changs chufs. So you can tell. Can you say, chun chien gone to chun changs chufs?
Stai si defenda, Romansh, teu vil lungac, risquart pretenda, per teu patrac.
You capisci, noi, l'essere forte tu veva, scu in bue, ne cola ne tissi, mi tacca ne matra in quel paese, le curve strecce, o safo in.
Before I moved to Bern, I was living in the UK for almost a decade, and then it was time for change. And my girlfriend was living in Bern, so it was perfect. I moved back to Switzerland and to Bern. I am from the village called Sedrun. It's Romansh only, and it's right at the beginning of the river Rhine, and it's in the middle of the Alps. When I started actually to sing in English before I even was able to speak it, which is like fantasy English. And then with a friend of mine, we started doing some songs in Romansh. Yeah, only the last 10 years I started again to do Romansh, because until then I did mainly in English. And now I'm starting to feel more and more comfortable with it, but as well more comfortable with mixing up, you know, ideally even in one song mixing languages. But it's never really a choice. I don't decide, oh, the next album is gonna be Romansh, or it's always the next song that I'm writing. When I'm working on the song, at some point I realize, oh, this is gonna be. It's a feeling. It's always a feeling. It's always an emotion that draws me to a language.
If you grew up in the mountains, for many things you want to do, you have to move away. So it was never like really, I was not dreaming of the day where I'm gonna leave where I'm from. It was just, for me, it was always important that I would be able to do music. So whatever it takes to do the music how I want to do, that's what I'm gonna do, you know. Well, probably I'm not helping, because one of the biggest problems we have is that in Romansh-speaking area, people are moving away, and people like me should live there and start a family. When I'm in the city, no, it's quite rare to meet someone that speaks Romansh. You usually have to know the person to realize.
I'm excited and a bit nervous, but it's all good, all set. It just depends on how well I can enter the zone. So either I start tomorrow a bit upbeat, or I start very quiet.
The main purpose of the Romansh is to promote the language and to help to preserve it. And what we do to reach our goals is we do a lot of projects, we publish a lot, and we try to put together the means for preserving the language, like vocabularies, online dictionaries. So if you don't know a word in Romansh, you have to write a text. You can write us if you're too lazy to look it up yourself, and then we get back to you with the word or with the information you require. To me, one of the main issues is the demographic development. There are fewer and fewer people living in the core regions. There are people who see this issue differently. They think that we shouldn't give too much support to people not living here, although they speak Romansh. But I think we have to be inclusive and try somehow to give a voice to everybody who speaks Romansh. This is an inscription dedicated to one of the most famous poets in the Romansh language, Jack and Hashpermut. And it's sort of a call to arms, asking of the Romansh people to stand up and defend their language. Romansh has always had this stigma of being a language of the farmers, of the farming communities. And now this is starting to break up. One major factor in this whole story are maybe young artists who try to use the language to promote their views and values with their own means of communication. One example is Pascal Gamboni, very very known singer and songwriter, very important for the Romansh movement, transporting our values, traditional values, in a new costume in contemporary music. And in terms of media, the most important player is, of course, RTR, Radio und Television Schweizer Romanschs. This is very important for promotion of the language as well, because reading news in your own language kind of enhances the linguistic consciousness as well.
Meu nome é Elise Bertoc, io lavoro da Pisiatons, tir RTR, al Radio Romansh e il Sulet, Radio Romansh Silientirmon. I work since 7 years here by RTR. All day I come from Sevgine to Kur. There's 35 kilometers one way. I am happy that I can promote the Romansh with my work. And I can do this with a lot of other people from the other regions from Graubünden. I think it's very important to hear the different idioms on the radio, because the regions are so far away and they had no contact with each other. And this one is our Romansh hymn from Pascal. Unix. We are Unix, yeah. All my family lived here, and we are all Romansh. We are all from here. I speak normally Romansh with my family and also at work. I think it's a great evolution in the Romansh, because I grew up that it was very important to speak a clean Romansh, without English words, without German words. It has to be clean Romansh. En zij don't go. Die schon. Tschüss. Grandmother.
Nós éramos Romansch, mais Romansch. A continuávamos no em praça com 7 anos, era coi feito greve. Ti capevas por todo, avevas ti col trem, tu mevas ti capesci as pouco. O sei se bia melhor.
And now we had the other side. The kids, they spoke so like it comes. When it's a German word inside, it's okay. When it's the English word inside, it's also okay. So it's not so good. I think I would have a nice Romansh, a Romansh that only we understand and we speak. But I think that's the time, and we have to let the young people talk this language that he talk, then Romansh can survive. So when you say, yeah, you have to say this and so and do that, then they say, okay, I speak German, then I had no problems. And so when they can speak a little Romansh mixed with English and German, I think so the Romansh had the chance to survive.
De Romansch als mijn moedersprache.
Oh my God. He said in Romansh is my Muttersprache. Yes, in German, he said Muttersprache. Romansh is my Muttersprache.
Gaat het er kwijt?
Hallo. No.
Wel, gaat je de women?
Genau.
Romansch.
Okay.
Roman.
Also the cost is the Romansh.
Vede che Ramon dice nemmeno lungaggio della mamma. Per vedere che hanno sei lungaggio et dei verstand dat je mij nadien prenderet en prender auto's als bogat, aber denk alles zichzelf is dat je mij pipi.
I think the most important to preserve Romansh is to speak it, to read it, to sing it, to do with it, to work with it. Yes, to need it, and then Romansh will be alive more 100 years. It's not only the language, there are people behind this language, and there is culture behind this language, and there are hearts and souls, and oh my God, I try knock on the tears when I think that Romansh is so important. Romansh is, yeah, because it's life, it's life. Yeah, Romansh is life.
If we consider the history of Romansh, language shift has been observed by a linguist, Uriel Weinreich, in the 1940s, in a small area of central Grisons where it has happened. This area now is German-speaking. So the question is, how will it go on? But there is a tendency of weakening of this language. Perhaps nowadays, with a different attitude, it may be easier to maintain Romansh besides German. Now, maybe we are more tolerant towards, yes, plurilingualism or mixed forms of language or uses of 2-3 languages. This might be a chance for Romansh. Many languages have disappeared already, and other will become weaker. That's inevitable. I think art allows people to identify with the language along the changes of time, because culture is changing everywhere. Understanding is not essential to being attracted to art, I think. You can enjoy a song in a language you don't understand. As long as the language lives and people live with it, something can be done in this language and for this language, and that's more important than our sorrows about the future.
This event is called Swiss Live Talent Music Marathon. Now I think I'm the only Romansh player tonight. A lot of times people say like, yeah, I really like it, but I didn't understand it. But most people don't know exactly what any song is about. You just listen and have and bathe in it, and you either enjoy it or you don't. Yeah, but it's the music. It's all about the music. Yeah.